Yes,
Hey!
yes. Welcome. We had a recording yesterday because we weren't able to go live. So we were just in this space of like, ooh, is it going to fly today? Are we going to be live? Are we going to be recording? All right, I'm sending a message out to everybody to join us for the live. So this is Abundance Book Club Live, and we are talking about our book for December. Holly Vaughn is here with me this morning. So glad that you're here. Our book for the month of December is The Audacity to Be Queen. It is phenomenal. If you have not read it yet, do it. Do yourself a favor and do it. Especially if you are a spiritually led individual who loves personal development, entrepreneurship, going after what you're here to create in the world. Those are all the things that we read about, and this book is spot on about. So the topic today is how and does spiritual wounding block abundance? And I think so many of us have had some form, either minor or a larger amount of spiritual wounding in our lives. And I think this is an important topic. It is one I did not want to have. It's so funny. I'm driving in my car, dropping my son off from school and coming back. And I was like, all these thoughts on this topic were in my mind. And I grabbed my notes for today because I make these notes, at the beginning of the week, and I'm just like jotting. I'm not even like really in the space of
just stream of consciousness. It's just right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I look at my notes and I'm like, no, not going to talk about it. Not going to put it out there. It's such a vulnerable thing to talk about. There's so much judgment in the space. I've experienced so much judgment. That's a lot of, my spiritual wounding, which I will share about. I'm already getting a little teary-eyed. But I absolutely believe it blocks abundance, and it's a very important topic that we talk about. So here we go. Are you ready, Holly?
Bring it on. Let's do this. Dig in deep.
Oh, so I don't even know where to start on this topic. I'm just going to let spirit flow and trust that God is with me.
That's the reason why you're talking about it. Do it.
Okay. You know what? Where I'll start on my journey. Just kind of some brief snippets instead of diving in deep. I grew up in a very, 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 very religious home. Everything that I was taught about God was through the filter of religion. It was through the filter of everybody else's opinion. And I lived in fear, loneliness, of feeling emotionally abandoned, always trying to find relationship and love in that space and never finding it, like just so many times in tears, bawling, like begging God for that. And God supported me and helped me and got me to where I am today. So it's all perfect. But that was my experience of God. And so when I finally let go of the fear around choosing something different for myself, choosing to see things differently, it was very scary, for one, because there was a lot of fear built around possibly having, exploring what might be true in the space. And for me, I knew I think of like what Oprah says, what do you know that you know? Like, what can I just grab onto that is the one thing that I know? And what I knew for me was true was God is love. And if God is love, then all I have to do is hold on to that and trust and know that wherever I go, whatever I discover, whatever truth is, will come through. And God loves me enough, like more than enough, but God loves me enough to walk with me and not let me go. And so just holding that truth, I walked a very unique and beautiful path. And, even at one point, calling God the universe, but it was always God. Like, it was always clearly the intelligent relationship that I have. And I hear some people say, well, if you're calling God the universe, you're actually talking about the thing that God made. Maybe some people are. Maybe some people, when they say the universe, they're talking about a system. And maybe they aren't really having a relationship with God. Maybe that's true for some people. For me, and I think for a lot of people, when they say the universe, there is some wounding. There is some spiritual wounding where it's like, okay, I'm not going to say God because that feels uncomfortable, but I can say universe, and I actually have a relationship with this intelligent source of me, source of life, source of all. And that is just the name that feels most safe and confident in all of those things, you know?
I have a friend who calls it Gus for God, universe, spirit.
I've heard that.
So you can talk,
acronym.
you can do whatever, call it however you want, but recognizing that there is a source energy, right?
Yeah.
There is a higher power of some sort, or a source energy that feeds us, so to speak, and loves us and like holds us.
Yeah.
It's our safety net, right? Like that's
Oh, I love that you said safety, because we're going to be going into safety here in a little bit. That is part of this big topic on spirit, God, and abundance. And just for anybody that's like, no, you can't call God whatever you want. Let me give you this analogy. I imagine it this way. If I adopted a little girl and she had mommy wounds and could not call me mommy because it brought up all of the pain that she had been through, and she made up a cute little nickname for her, I'd be like, yes, girl, that's who I am. Let's go.
Right.
And I know that God is more loving than me. And that was one of the big things that that also was a healing space for me, was becoming a parent and knowing that deep love and knowing that God's way more loving than me. Way more loving than me. And if God is way more loving than me, then, surrender all.
Exactly. Like he's got you, right?
Yeah.
He, she, it, whoever has you.
Yeah. Yeah. And without, let's kind of bring it back to the topic, which is how spiritual wounding blocks our abundance. Like there's so many people that are like trying to feel good and they don't feel good. There's that deep hole, right? I know for me, it felt like a gaping hole without that relationship. And when I couldn't really wrap my heart around the relationship part of it, when it was constantly the rules. So, trying to even manifest from that space is impossible. And then on top of that, understanding the source of our manifesting, right? As much as we can do all the things, take all the steps, unless we are in relationship with that source, it's kind of like putting the seed in the ground and, the plant that grows and that fills abundantly. Our God, the universe, whatever it is for an individual, is a massive part of that creation. God is the creator. I mean, really, if we come down to it. So without healing that space, we're only going to get so far in our abundance journey.
Absolutely. And understanding that there's such a will within us, right? So there's such a will, and it's if you can dream it, you can achieve it, right? It's one of those things, but you don't just achieve it because you dreamed it, right? You achieve it because you requested the support and because you were able to receive what you needed to be able to achieve it. We don't do anything alone, whether it looks on the outside like it was by ourselves, it's still by ourselves with God, right? But we don't really achieve major things by ourselves. And God has this lovely little way of putting the right people and the right experiences in your path such that you end up with what you were dreaming of. And it may not always look the same. That is huge. That is something I have learned significantly over the last few years. Like it may not look the way we think it should look, right? We get to be open to it not looking exactly the way we think it should look. Yeah. But recognizing and realizing often in hindsight that, oh, wow, I really did get exactly what I asked for. I really did get exactly what I thought of. It just didn't look exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I had something just this week that I thought, this is a step that I'll take. I'll go this route, and immediately got like a block. And I won't go into the details of it because that's not the relevant part, but I immediately got a block on it. And I went, first reaction was kind of frustration. It was, something that someone else had done. I didn't think that they should have done it. And I'm like, okay, pause. Everything is guidance. Everything is God guiding me in the direction that is actually forwarding me, making a difference, and exactly what I'm here to be and create. So if this is a stop, then I received the sign. Thank you for making it so clear and not letting me get into deep into that and then finding out, I'm finding out right now. And so it's just more and more okay, let's fine tune and realize that every step is guidance, every piece. The people, like you said, the people that come into our lives, the resources, all of the resources. Yeah, absolutely. We would not be doing it without God. It just cracks me up. It just cracks me up when ego gets in the way and we think that, oh my gosh, look what I did. And it reminds me of the Saturday Night Live. Look what I can do. And our little egos are like, look at
oh, the Stuart moment. Lovely.
I was like, what's his name? Ego's like, look at me, look what I can do. And it's like, no, honey, you wouldn't even be breathing in this moment if it wasn't for your source, your God, your, God who has you.
And he gave it to you, right? Yep. He gave that to you. So yeah, it is. Yep. Hey, so look great. What I can do, right? Hey.
I mean, maybe a look what we can do moment.
Right. But little kids are the same way, right? Yeah. Like you get a 2 or 3 year old, look, mom, look what I can do. Look what I can do. Look what I can do. They want that love and attention and affirmation. And we're doing the same thing with God.
I love that. Yeah. And to be in that childlike wonder and that childlike play about it, look what I can do. I love that. That vision, that perspective.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about security, because a lot of us are looking for security and money and abundance, right?
I think I talked about this with you a month and a half ago when we've
and we're still talking about it.
No, it's perfect. It's always going to come up. That is, I've long looked at money as being security. And I think when we talked about this before, it may have just been in the private book club discussion, but when we talked about this before, it was well, what is the essence of security, right? And then I had this whole conversation around what is essence. So
yes, yep, that was in the private Zoom. So glad that we're taking this into the public space and sharing this with others, because it's something that you may have heard before. Awesome if you have, but if it's new to you, I think it was really valuable to me, and I know Holly, you have spoken into how valuable it was to you. To really get that when we are placing our security in money, my experience of when I've put my security in money is God kind of lets go a little bit. It's okay, if you want that to be your security, I'm going to just back off a little bit and let you trust that and let you see what happens.
And inevitably,
it does not work. No. And then along that path, God gave me some beautiful lessons about where my source of security truly is, which again, we come into this earth, not of our own power and not of money's power. We wake up every day saying, not of our own power, definitely not of money's power, all of the things that are keeping us secure. And I gave this analogy earlier in the week, how my son, who is driving now, is out in a car in control. I mean, sometimes it's me beside him, sometimes it's my husband beside him, Christians beside him, and he has some support, but it's him. And it's also the rest of the world driving how they drive. And that's it. And there's no security in either one of those things, except, my son's does a great job. I'm proud of him. That's irrelevant.
Right.
There's no
we have
control.
Security in what we taught them, right?
Right.
We have security.
Which even that's putting security in money, right? And I've just really gotten many lessons on this topic, and even some with money as well. But this one is the most recent one where God really allowed me to see that I'm the one bringing him home every day. I'm the one that brought him to you in the beginning when he was born, and I'm the one bringing him home every day. And it's been this beautiful like surrender of like deep layers of trust. Yeah. And knowing at a deep core, at my deep core, that my security is God. And when we anchor in to that fully, that is when abundance can flow, because there's not a lesson that needs to be learned in that space, right? And I think about too, there was a time in my life where I gave the man in my life God's place in love, or my experience of love. And when I got an amazing lesson on that, and when I gave God his place, my husband, Christian, showed up, and he's the most loving man, but he will never replace God's love for me. And God is also our security. And when we really anchor in and know that to be true, that is when God can pour his abundance on us, because we know he knows, he already wants to, he already has it waiting for us. But he knows that that lesson, as long as that lesson needs to be there, where our true security is, then we will continue to get the lesson.
Absolutely. And I have so done that too. Like, that is my experience as well. Like, I have created, I made my former husband my rock, right? Like, he was my rock for everything. And when that rock got slippery, I realized I didn't have the rock underneath me that I was looking for. Hey, sorry, my dog is very excited to be a part of the conversation too.
It's a good one.
But yeah, so it's, when you recognize that really your rock is God, your rock is your faith, then other people can stand on that rock too, right? It's too much for a human to take on. It's too much for a human to truly be that entire foundation for someone else. They get to lean on their foundation in God. Absolutely. And that's really where it gets to come from.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am super grateful for that in my relationship. My husband, my husband's name is Christian, so he grew up in a completely different spiritual experience than I did. He grew up in, like gurus and hippie world, and so it's this beautiful understanding of God in a different perspective. But absolutely, like, he has his foundation and I have mine, and it's created such a perfect space for us to have a relationship through. Well, we are actually wrapping up for today, so no problem. Let's go ahead. That's okay. We're all done for today. Hey, you know what? If my son walked in here right now and was like, "Mom, I need something," we'd be like in that space, authenticity. But we would like to hear from anyone who is watching this, has served you. As much as I didn't want to have this conversation, I felt really called to. And I trust that whoever it's meant to serve, it will serve. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. We are going to let you two go for today. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a blessing to be with you every time. You always come up with something that's just like, I'm like, yep, I needed to hear that today. Thank you.
Awesome. So glad. And I'm so glad that you're having these conversations.